So truly to indie publish well, it takes a level of financial privilege that many don't have. Saying anyone can do it while ignoring this fact is often unintentionally ignorant to the lack of privileges people have. It's definitely true. To an extent.
Yes. I agree completely with this.
Yeah. I completely agree with this.
What? I'm sorry, but that's just not true. I usually don't watch these kinds of videos, but it's Alexa Dunn and I love her channel, so I clicked on this one. Hey guys, it's Deborah and welcome back to my channel where we talk about the business side of self-publishing. There were 3 things that Alexa and Kate both talked about in their videos that were unpopular writing opinions, but really they were more opinions on the business side of self-publishing. I just felt like I had to respond to. Let's start with the easy one.
Word count goals are actually detrimental to a lot of people because they don't focus at all on the craft. I'm just going to put on the screen a lot of other takes that are very similar to this. A lot of it goes back to the old adage of you can't edit a blank page.
Word count is somewhat important. Novels are made up of quantifiable words, so like at some point you do have to write to get to the end. Writing slow can be good. Writing fast can be good. Finding somewhere in the middle can be good. You need to write and figure it out and see where you find success, and that's your process.
All of this is 100% on point. However, it is a little bit incomplete. The actual issue, which is twofold, is people are confusing goals with KPIs, and they are both very, very different things. Goals are a desired outcome, whereas KPIs are metrics that measure your progress towards that outcome. And therefore, if you have a complex goal, such as publishing a good book, where good as a criterion is subject to interpretation and definition, then you actually need multiple KPIs to measure your progress towards that goal, because complex goals have multiple dimensions. And secondly, people are not setting balanced KPIs to measure all of the aspects that contribute to an author's success. So this whole debate about whether word count goals actually detract from your ability to write a good book is actually the wrong conversations to be having. Word count goals are not there to measure the goodness of writing. Word count goals are there to measure your progress towards delivering a final manuscript. As Alexa points out,
The love of craft and story isn't going to help me when I'm on deadline.
and the thing with setting up KPIs is you can get extremely creative in order to measure the thing you want to measure. So when Kate says,
Maybe you could even count by arcs. Because I can't always share what plot point I covered if I'm not wanting to tell someone everything.
there's actually a very high profile example of an author who measures their progress in arcs. And if you've been following this channel, there should be no surprises as to who I am talking about.
In order to explain how Wax and Wayne is progressing, I'm going to explain how I've been writing this book.
If you want some ideas on how to actually set KPIs around the quality of your writing, make sure you check out this other video I did on the entire topic. The next thing I wanted to talk about was this opinion that indie publishing or self-publishing requires financial privilege.
I think this is just one of those things where the word privilege gets people a little riled up because they mistake it for meaning you're spoiled. You've had this handed to you.
This whole indie publishing requires financial privilege actually really set me off because I'm sorry, it's not about privilege. It's just that publishing is a business. Businesses require investment.
Writing a novel for pleasure and hope of profit, that act alone takes some level of privilege. They have made sacrifices in order to see their dream of putting their book out there and hopefully finding as many readers as they can.
Indie publishing or self-publishing, any kind of publishing, is a business, and a business requires investment.
Yes, there are no gatekeepers in self-publishing, but that doesn't mean the gate is open for everyone.
The barriers to entry in publishing today are so low. And what's really amusing to me is how many people think publishing is really expensive to the point where they're calling it
financial privilege.
If that's you, then I'm sorry, you need to actually get some perspective, because if you back up and have a look at the relative upfront capital investment required to publish a book compared to a business which requires investment in physical goods, compared to starting a restaurant, compared to complex game development where you have to pay voice actors and other programming talent to help you bring bring the game to life. Compared to being a composer, where it costs an absolute bomb to try and get musicians and orchestras and ensembles to put on your work and perform it in front of an audience. Publishing a book has one of the lowest barriers to entry in terms of capital investment required. It is one of the main reasons why I decided to go into self-publishing instead of pursuing my original dream, which was to write a Broadway musical, which I have now kind of resigned myself to the fact that it is not going to happen before I turn 35. Yeah, okay, I'm not 100% over that. Publishing a book is so cheap.
And I've heard of people who have done a lot of the work themselves, but that's a lot of skills for one person to have.
Most of the books out there, if you do not have the skills or expertise or time to do it all yourself, you can pay somebody else to do it and you would have it all done in 10 grand or less. That is like nothing. And if you can't afford 10 grand, that's fine. You can still do very good stuff for 5 grand, 3 grand, 2 grand, 1 grand, 500 bucks. It's all just a matter of trade-offs, which I've talked about in this video here. And the time frames of being able to actually publish a good book is so ridiculously low. Do you know how long the average development time for a Broadway musical is? 7 years. 7 years compared to 1 year. Like, that's insane. I can release 7 books in the time that it takes me to write one musical. And the risk profile on those two things are just insanely far apart. Musicals have the same failure rate as tech startups, okay? Whereas with books, if you're smart, if you optimize the process, if you do your title P&L right, which I've talked about in this video here, then it is so easy to make a return on your investment.
Yeah, there's tons of privilege that comes in self-publishing. Well, it is a reason that self-publishing has not been attractive to me. I did not have money.
The first step in starting any business is to raise capitals, and that can be debt or equity. And yeah, not everybody can bankroll 100% of their investment into whatever it is that they're publishing, but since being the sole financier of a project is just a really bad investment tactic anyway, a lot of the people who can afford to bankroll 100% of their publishing endeavors are not going to, because you want to diversify your risk. I absolutely disagree with the notion that you have to have lots of cash on hand to be able to pay for everything yourself as an indie publisher. No, you just need to find a way to finance whatever it is that you're publishing. And I'm not even talking about putting it all on your credit card. I'm talking about things like Kickstarter and Indiegogo, where you can actually get customer financing for your product before you have to spend too much producing the actual thing. The barriers to getting financing are so low for creators. You've got all of these platforms which make it really easy for you as an individual to raise funds in a way that's never been possible before.
I don't think publishing, certainly not traditional publishing, should be pay to play.
Okay, so I know Alexa is coming from either one or both of these places. Firstly, there are a lot of scams out there targeting indie and self-publishing authors, from vanity presses to guys like this.
Chandler Bolt. So he
Chandler
calls
Bolt, dude, that sounds like a fake
Good
name.
name.
That's not his name.
calls himself a 6-time best-selling author, but he's not on any bestseller list other than Amazon.
Oh God.
He never actually published a book other than his books on how to publish books.
So you make $3,000 from that, but you spent almost $5,000 on the course. How is that a good return on investment? That's a fucking scam.
Second place that Alexa is probably coming from, in a traditional publishing arrangement, the typical agreement between the author and the publisher is one where the publisher gives the author an advance, which is not free money. It is a payday loan on the future royalties that are going to be earned from the sales of the book, presumably, and you do have to repay that advance. If you're strictly considering this from only the author's perspective in the context of a traditional publishing agreement between an author and a publishing house, then yeah, sure, you're not paying anything upfront as an author in terms of actual cash outlay. You are still contributing your time towards the manuscript, which, by the way, is still a cost that you should be factoring into your calculations of what the true cost of publishing is. But that is not the entire picture, and I have this entire video here which goes through the whole publishing industry and explains how it all works at a very high level, including where all the money is, where it all goes, and who gets paid what amount of the cover price of a book. Put that to one side though, and if you think about everything that has to happen in order to publish a book and get it into the hands of readers, what I don't think Alexa has considered is the fact that there is somebody who is paying for all of that, and it is the traditional publisher. They are the ones bankrolling the book. In all publishing, there is somebody who is paying to play, and that is the publisher. Which, hey, guess what? If you're in self-publishing, then that's you. I want to draw attention to this point that Kate made in particular.
This is one of the, biggest points in the favor of traditional publishing, and that it doesn't take extra resources on behalf of the writer. A lot of that responsibility is the publisher's.
And if you're a self-publisher, then you need to remember that you are both the author and the publisher. So yeah, guess what? You have to pay to play because you are not just in the business of writing books as an author, you are in the business of publishing books, which means you're the one responsible for making this whole thing happen. So of course you have to pay to play.
Authortubers who self-publish do videos on how much they spent, and sometimes they tell you how much they made, and I love those videos. I think that really helps people who are planning on self-publishing going in with more information than less.
What? Like, no, okay. In my previous life, I have audited a lot of traditional publishers, and when you're watching these other videos, they're going to give you all sorts of information about what it costs them, except in 90% of the cases, they are talking about what they actually paid out of pocket, and they're not factoring into all of these other things. Title P&L is the magical formula that you need to understand if you want to make self-publishing your full-time thing, or at least not lose money doing it. Can we please save the word privilege for things that are actual privileges? Like white privilege or male privilege or all these other kinds of privileges which do exist. The final point I wanted to touch on was this one.
If traditional publishing doesn't drastically change, it will not exist by the time the next generation of writers comes to age. I think it will still exist, but in a much different form than we're used to.
No, publishing is just going to evolve. It is not going to go anywhere. Absolutely disagree with this. But it is going to change. It is going to change a lot.
No. That is absolutely ridiculous. I think we're going to continue to move forward in a really interesting evolution where I think both can coexist and hopefully work together better.
I actually wish Kate had elaborated a little bit more on how she thinks traditional publishing is going to evolve, because I would be really interested to see whether she agrees with my take on the future of ebooks. The point Alexa makes here:
print book sales are on the rise. Physical print books are selling more than ever.
Did make me actually remember a point I did not discuss in my other video where I talked about the fact that I think print books haven't gone away simply because we don't have advanced e-readers that perfectly replicate the physical reading experience. There has been some research around the neurological side of things in terms of how our brains actually respond to like looking at something in a physical medium versus in an electronic medium, but I still think we're going to see some technological innovations on the hardware side of things to the point where they may actually be able to isolate what that difference is between the physical medium and the electronic medium, to the point where they can actually produce a medium that is the best of both worlds. And you're actually starting to see some of those products hit the market, like this remarkable tablet, which I kind of really want, but I just kind of can't justify to myself the expense of having both that and an iPad Pro. So yeah. What do you guys think? Do you agree? Have I missed something? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you don't know Alexa or Kate, please do check out their channels after you finish watching this video. I myself have been subscribed to Alexa's channel for a long time. She does really great writing advice videos, as well as a lot of advice on what it is like to be a traditionally published author. I've only just discovered Kate's channel via Alexa's video on this very topic, and I'm looking forward to checking out more of Kate's videos because it seems like she's got a very similar story to me. If you found this video thought-provoking and insightful, please give it a like, and remember to subscribe and hit the bell for more videos on the business side of self-publishing. See you guys in the comments.